Committee of the Green Party of Santa Cruz County. Thank you. I am also running for the 19th district, the congressional 19th district against incumbent Jimmy Panetta. Exactly. All right. So we're all here today because I assume all of us live in the area, and we're concerned about our own health. We're concerned about the health of our families. We're concerned about what this disaster has done to our soil, to the food that we're eating. I mean, my wife and I don't even know what we can buy at the grocery store right now. And I think a lot of us, in addition to that, are concerned about climate change. And even though we don't want new lithium-ion facilities, many of us don't, I don't, that doesn't mean that I don't care about climate change. And I think we also want to stop these 3 plants from being built in Santa Cruz County, right? They've got one plant near the hospital. Why? And one near the high school in Altus. And then the one in Watsonville. I mean, it's insane. It's completely insane, right? So that's why we're here today, because this is completely insane. Because we're not insane, exactly. But I do want to say this. There's going to be a Q&A session at the end of this, and I want us to all really try to be patient with one another, because I really mean this, because I've been talking to activists in this community leading up to this event, and I've been talking to activists that don't agree with my position on these lithium-ion plants. And some of them, I'm winning them over. And I think it's because I'm patiently making a rational argument. And some people won't be persuaded, but others are. And especially us in this room today, there's going to be disagreements in this room. Some of us are going to be in favor of sodium-ion plants, and others will not. But let's just hear each other out, because I think everybody here today is coming from a good place. So let's just listen to each other, and we'll try to figure this out together. So I'm just going to tell you what the structure of the event is, and then we're going to get going with our speakers. So we've got a really great lineup of speakers. We've got 2 community organizers. We've got an elected official out of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, and then we've got 2 people running for office with the Green Party. So each of those speakers is going to talk for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. Please don't go over 15. I'll start waving at you in about 10 minutes, because I want to make sure that we have enough time for the community to make their comments and raise their questions. And then we may have a bathroom break between the speakers and the panel if people raise their hand and say they want that. All right, so without further ado, let's get started with our first speaker, who I'm very excited to have speaking today. His name is Brian Roeder, and I'm going to guess that everybody in this room already knows about Brian. But I don't think an introduction is needed, but I will give a short one. So Brian he won't claim himself as a leader, but I will describe him as a leader. I would say he is the de facto leader of Never Again Moss Landing, and he does the work, right? Like, if you send an email to info@neveragainmosslanding.org, Brian's the one on the other end responding, and Brian's the one that calls you back, right? So Brian's a real leader, right? That's you. And I just want to say one more thing about Brian, and I'm really excited to hear more from him about this. Brian spearheaded an effort to have citizen scientists take soil samples from all around the community and then send it off to an independent lab so that we felt that we could trust the results. So I really hope to hear, either he'll talk about it in the remarks, or during the Q&A, I'll ask him a question about it, because that's one of the things I hear the most questions about from the community is what's going on with the soil? What's going on with the heavy metals? All right, so without further ado, here, take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, everybody. A lot of faces I know, some new faces. I grew up in Epcot. And went to Tufts High, Korea College, UCSC, was slugged. And I went off to the East Coast for about 27 years, went to Georgetown. I said I'm a blue-collar guy with a white-collar education. Studied international affairs, my friends. Some of them are now ambassadors, so it was great. It's wonderful. We met my first wife. We started a winery out there. And it was a big winery. It's a wonderful experience. And got very involved in local affairs. Economic development, my community, very red community. I'm more on the blue side myself, but I had a lot of really wonderful friends who were really good people. Across the spectrum, we cared about our community. I got very involved in that. So I came back about 2.5 years ago to be here with my parents. Most of them, they get older. We all get older. Let them be their old friends. They still live 2 blocks later. And we moved to Prudendale with my second wife, my beloved wife, Angie, and our 7-year-old son, Atticus, our one and only. So on the night of the 16th, we were up on a hilltop. We could see the stacks. I love the stacks. They're the reference point of my life in some ways. And we saw that there was a fire. And we decided to leave. We went to San Francisco and showed Atticus a big weekend. I came back on Sunday, and then my wife came back with Atticus on Monday. And Saturday morning, Angie started a Facebook group, which we called a symptoms group. And by the end of the day on Saturday, there were 1,000 people there. Sunday, there were 2,000 people there. There's now 4,000 people there. We think you were there. Tanya, who's here, Tanya Rivera, we call our fears later because she's the one that started this. So I get to blame her for all the wonderful things that have happened in the way of the people in particular that I've been able to meet. It's about the only good thing about this. So she reached out to Angie and said, I'd like to get our community together. We all met for the first time on that Monday, the weekend of the fire, and figured out what we wanted to try and do for our community. We got together at 6 o'clock, and we just kind of been going from there. And I facilitated it because that's another thing I've done. So let me tell you a little bit about what I've learned, because I'm kind of a node. I connect people, I connect ideas, I connect things as best I can. First off, I've been hearing from people all over the world. It's sad that there's probably more awareness of many ladies around the world about what's happened here in their own backyard. I think just seems like that's how life is this day. We're all so busy. Yeah. So, and first off, what came out of the plant? Upwards of 5,000 tons of heavy metals. Manganese, cobalt, nickel, and lithium. I didn't know this, but these batteries make their own oxygen. You can burn them in space. So they burn really hot. Hot enough to vaporize those metals into nanoparticles. They found chunks. You probably saw some pictures. Dr. Ivano found chunks over there. This flew. It was big. So we don't know how much of that was in chunks, but we know a lot of it went out in nanoparticles. So that means that over 5 days that fire was burning, especially in the first couple of days, but it was superheated. It was like a volcano. It pushed all this stuff up into the air, and it hit the marine litter, went sideways, and it kind of worked its way around the bay. And EPA said that they were checking for hexafluorine and that it had been destroyed. That's not true, but that's a separate issue. I'll get to that. But the metals, they never tested for. For some reason, they didn't think that mattered enough to test for these metals. Too big. So, those nanoparticles were breathed in by tens of thousands of people. And if you go online and see what that's going to gain some of those people. Oh, by the way, that's 250 semi-trucks. Or something. Toxic metals by the air. 210 people. Up to 250 semi-trucks worth of 18 limbers worth of metals, like the math. That might have been less. Nobody knows for sure. But it's up to that amount. That comes from a scientist who did some back and napkin stuff early on based upon the numbers that were provided by the company as to what's inside of that building. A lot of people don't know this. That building was approved by the Planning Commission. Did it go before the Coastal Commission, which gets involved if you want to move a window in your house? Yeah. They should be carpenters. You didn't go before the Board of Supervisors. And the reason for that is because the plant had been there for 50s. They were just looking to change out some equipment, right? Or at least that's what the code was to contain it. It was the planning commission. What's on the planning commission in a rural community? Moms and pops and farmers and small businessmen. That's where you get involved, right? School board, planning commission. And if they approve it, state checked all the boxes and said then, hey, do it. We're okay with this. So let's talk a little bit about the hexafluorine. I'm a really positive guy, and I'm sorry I'm standing here on the verge of tears. I'm sorry. Yes. The hexafluorine is incredibly toxic, as we know. The EPA said it was completely destroyed. But all the indications are, we're still trying to run this down, is that it went up because it's lighter than air. By the way, all those testing stations they have on the ground, pointless. There's, I can tell, pointless because lithium is, hexafluorine is lighter than air. So it's going up. It's not blanketing down over those monitoring stations. It's going up. So you have this volcanic type situation, pushing that up to a couple thousand feet in the air. It hits the marine layer. By the way, when hexafluorine, they can Google this, mixes with salt in the air, it turns into hydrochloric acid and hydrofluoric acid. So that's moving up across our area. People are breathing that in too. Probably the hundreds of people with breathing problems, such as my wife. I don't know if it was the metal, which can cause that, or if it was the acid. So I know a few hundred people that are all over Facebook because these are the people that covered in COVID. People with bronchial issues, people with pre-existing conditions, issues. My wife was in the Air Force. She went abroad with burn pits. She got the cocktail of shots so she could go abroad and deal with the burn pits. She had pre-existing conditions. I had pre-existing bronchitis. The first time in her life, she struggles to breathe. And when she goes back, she gets really sick. So we had to abandon our house. We're lucky. We could get out. Yes. So there are hundreds of people that are sick. You go to the symptoms page, and you go back over the last few months, you'll see thousands of entries. I received at least 6 emails today from people saying that they're sick. Today. The test. A week after the fire broke out, I didn't see anybody testing. I didn't know anybody testing. I wanted to know what came out of the plant. But by that time, an industrial hygienist named Michael Pacabla reached out and he said, how can I help? And he said, how do we find out what came out of this thing? So we'll do surface wipes. We just need enough people to do it. How many people do you want to do it? I said, I don't know, how many we can get. That was on Thursday. Saturday, we got 150 packets that we handed out. Sunday, I collected 124, along with 200 some other volunteers on that group. Sent them off to a lab in Salt Lake City. They tested it. Now, before we got our results back, Dr. LeVonne Mayello, the San Jose State, has been out checking the blood for years. He's a blood guy. Is pretty cool. He released his results, and they showed that in the flu, it was up to 1,000 times higher in these metals, as you probably know that. What was the first testing we started hearing something about? And we released our results about 5 days later. Far and wide, it's all open source. Everything that we do is open source. It's all about it, it's all open source. 2 minutes later, Dr. Ayala called me on my cell phone as I was driving back home to our Airbnb, getting out of that air. And he said, your data almost exactly correlates with mine. And our data was done totally differently than this. So that's pretty significant. So what do we find? So up and down the port, we tested for 4 metals because that's what I could afford to pay for. We tested for these 4 metals: nickel, cobalt, manganese, and lithium. And up in Davenport and over in Carmel Valley, a couple other places, we saw that what we would consider baseline, which is they're all about the same, was something like 1 to 5 parts per billion. So we're wiping the surface, handling it properly, getting it all documented, sending it off to the lab. Lab sends us back a bunch of numbers. We put them in a database. We've still got the underlying data, but we put them in a database, we can correlate all this stuff and see how it relates to each other, right? And what we find is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts per billion is in fact in some places 4, 5, 600 parts per billion. What does that mean? It's very difficult to interpret that data. We're still trying. I think we might be making some progress. But it doesn't seem good. And where that was generally between 3 and 8 miles from the plaque. And if you think of that volcano, everything superheated goes up, it stays up there. Moves sideways, it starts to cool down, start to precipitate out. Highest numbers are 3 to 8 miles out. Our house is between 7.5 and 8 miles out. Highest numbers are in Royal Oaks, Broomdale, from the region or towards Aromas, but Aromas are revisited the other day are not as high. Of course, all the fields. Some of us have been trying really hard to talk to the farm community. It's very difficult, as you can imagine. I mean, there are big corporate farms. There are also a lot of small mom and pops. And I think they have an idea of what's going on, but they don't know, again, what it means, right? So just because you have elevated numbers, it doesn't mean it necessarily shows up in the SUB. Because SUB it does, but that doesn't mean it does. So I think they're being very cautious. I understand a lot. I used to be a farmer. I had a vineyard and winery, big end. But we haven't really been able to get the information. The conflicting information, and I'm going to wrap it up. The conflicting information, which you might have seen, which is kind of like nothing to see here, right? Santa Cruz County tested, Marion County tested. And there's a reason for that. They're testing in very small areas typically. And when they're testing like Santa Cruz over a little bit more of an area, they're not testing when the numbers were extremely elevated. In fact, their data looks a lot like ours. But where it's really elevated, they're not testing. Now, I'm not sure if that's by design or by just ineptitude. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the people of the county are not very good people who are trying to do the right thing. But government doesn't work the way that citizens can sometimes. But there are some people that are trying to make this go away. And that gentleman right there is running against one of those people. There's no question he would like to see this go away because we're so vested in its technology. I want us to decarbonize, by the way. I want us to decarbonize. But Never Get Lost Landing is about making sure that this never happens again. And if you hear about new batteries, they still burn. If you hear about single containers, well, then it messes up the neighborhood. And the problem is there are hundreds of those being approved to go in all over the state. Go to our website. There's a map there. There are lots of maps there. There's a lot of information there. Never again, lostlanding.org. I'm posting more every day. Whenever I get a couple of minutes, go there. You'll be shocked at what you're learning. So I wish I had good news for you. That's what happened. We're all moving on. We've demonstrated against Senator Laird because Senator Laird is not bringing up Calgary. I know that for a fact. There's some help behind the scenes, yes. Toxicology, environmental teams, financial support, all those things. Done.
God.
So, on the positive side, it's a beautiful day outside.
But that better.
We're all here. Community's coming out of this. That's what power lies, folks.
That's
So, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Brian. I learned quite a few things from that, actually. I didn't know about the nanoparticles. Our next speaker is LeVonne Stone. Hang on a second. LeVonne, your organization's name is so long. I don't want to get it wrong. LeVonne Stone is the executive director of the Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network. LeVonne actually fought against the initial construction of this Vistra plant. So that's why she's here today. I thought that was amazing. She saw it before a lot of the rest of the community did. What else do I want to say? She's actually gone all the way to DC in some of her activism against these lithium-ion batteries. So I think, it's great to have you here, LeVonne. Did you want to come up and?
At Fort Ord, and I was at Northwestern University in Chicago, but I found out that he had fallen down a mountain with a 100-pound machine gun on his back. And one of his scourges had to stay down there in barbed wire all night because it was so dark they couldn't look for him. So I got a call, and I hate moving. And they said, you better come because your husband had an accident and he has to have an operation. And they told me what happened. So I quit my job at Northwestern and decided to move out here to California. And I tell you what, I was really surprised when I got here because of the fact that we were not allowed to go to certain places, like the city of Seaside, for instance, because that's where most of the Black people work. I think I'm Black. I look like it. But I was not allowed to go there. But anyway, my husband took me there one day, and I found out that there were other people that looked like me. So anyway, the reason we started the Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network is I found out this base was closing. This huge military training complex where all thousands of families lived. And I decided to go to the meetings and let them know that I wanted to find out what the process was, what was going to happen to us, what was going to happen to retirees, and all of that. And I guess I was too nosy because I got fired. Yes, federal job. And so I decided to take all my stuff, and I found an attorney on Fremont Street, and he was a retired Navy commander who lived in Spanish Bay. And I took my information into him and told him what I wanted to do. He got on the phone, he said, just a minute. He called somebody downstairs. He said, the Stone is here. She's got a lot of stuff. We won't have time to read it, so let's just help her. So they, really? I said, wow, this works. And so we started the Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network and found out that there was, when they start burning, they used what's called alumigel, which is a derivative of napalm.
What?
And they sprayed it all around 100 square miles or whatever you call it, because Fort Ord is as big as the city of San Francisco in acreage. You just don't have the tall buildings. And the city of Seaside rented part of Seaside to the military. And they would be over on the ships, on the ocean, shooting all the way into Fort Ord. And the city of Seaside was finding all kinds of munitions in their backyards. A couple of people lost limbs and everything like that. Yeah, and nobody really wanted this story to get out. But we started getting them out, so I'm not very popular, and I really don't care about that. So they kept burning and burning with all these people still there. It was not as many as before, but we were still living there. We lived in Preston Park. My office was in Monterey at the time at a little facility where some doctor was very nice and gave us a space, rented us a space. And I got a phone call saying, you better get to the emergency room right now. And I said, for what? They said, your husband's here, he can't breathe. That man right there, he's not little either. And so they said, come right away, don't go to the hospital, don't sign in, come straight to the emergency room. And I did that. And when I got in there, the doctors would say, where were you exposed to secondhand smoke? And he wouldn't say nothing, he was in tears. And they asked again, I said, the third time I said, We don't smoke. We're not around people that smoke. And and he said, I said, the only smoke I know about is the fire that they had a few days ago. And the doctor said, well, that's where he was exposed to secondhand smoke. I called the US EPA office up in San Francisco and told them what happened. And they said, hold on, we'll call you back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, they called back and they said, the Army said they're gonna pay his hospital bill. $30,000 for 4 days in there. And after that, nothing else was ever said. We're not getting compensated. There's people there's not getting compensated. They're not getting anything. There was no help whatsoever. And the thing about it is, I know we're talking about batteries, but I'm talking about health effects from toxins. Hallelujah. All kinds of toxins. That's why I have traveled all across the United States. And I also, where we had the strawberries out there, and they had that, I forgot what you call it. I came to Moss Landing because they were having a meeting with the Department of Toxic Substances and Control in Sacramento. They were there, and some of the people had asked me to come. And so when I said I wanted to support them, they said, oh, well, this is a meeting for the local people. And we have to ask them if you could speak. Before they said speak, they said yes. And I did get to speak, and I tell you, they got rid of that stuff with those strawberries. They got rid of them a week later, whatever it was. So my thing is, what has happened in Moss Landing, this is unbelievable. I thought they were gonna tear the place down. And found out at the Nina Beatty, getting me a call, they were having a meeting at Cashville again, that said that they were going to bring 600-ton batteries, or how many other ton, and put them in that same place. And we were not allowed to say anything. We listened to all the folks up there, and they told us to write down what we were concerned about on a card. So they just picked a couple that they wanted, and everybody else was just out of the picture. And the thing about it is, it's all about the people. It's all about our communities. And to disrespect the people who's living there that might be affected by whatever it is they're doing, all this so-called technology, to me, that's a crime. It is a crime, because the stuff you cannot see, that's what this whole country and world is fighting for right now. Mm-hmm. We are fighting for clean air, climate change, and I have been to all of them. I have been to meetings all across this country especially for this area right here. And I've been to the Pentagon. For real. I was part of all of the big government establishment they had. Everybody was a representative from every area of government, and then there was me. And this lady took me on a tour in the Pentagon and had me stand in the office of the highest civilian in the land that said, Ms. Stone, if we had more people like you, we would be in good shape. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't say anything. I was just shocked. And so from that moment on, we kept on fighting against what is happening with technology, about the stuff that comes out and you cannot see it, and it's hurting people and it's killing people. And this thermal runoff with these lithium batteries, they have known about it for a very long time. And it can happen to the same place or battery stack or whatever you want to call it, up to 60 times. And this is the third time for Moss Landing, and this was the worst time for Moss Landing. and there was a lady coming from Los Angeles. She was coming from a fire, and she said she saw all the smoke in the air, black smoke just going everywhere. And she said she thought she had gotten lost or going in the wrong direction. She said that was a Moss Landing fire. That's what she told me. And it's just a shock to find out that, and you go past those big old smokestacks. I was like, I thought they were going to tear that stuff down. But it looks like something out of a science fiction movie in the first place, and then they're going to put batteries in it. And I'm just really shocked that there is no more care, because people are people everywhere. God created us all, and he created all this land, the whole planet and stuff for us so we can be safe and have everything that we need. Isn't that right? Yes, that's right. Hallelujah. So that's why I like to say hallelujah. All right, now you get it. And I'm going to tell you about one time when I was at the meeting with all of the government people, and I could raise my hand, they would never call on me. You know, one day they did. And I said, you know what? I said, there's one thing about it. We can't make people respect us, but we can certainly look at the fact that we have the right to be here. We all have the right to be here. And God created us just like he did the flowers. You got roses and tulips and daisies and all of that. They're all different and they're all beautiful. And I said, we should all think of this when we are talking about ourselves and our communities. And it was so quiet in the room, nobody said anything. And then they asked me to edit the environmental justice resolution that was written by President Clinton. And I did it. And I got it, and I read the edit part of it and everything. And so I could just encourage you to keep going, and there ought to be lawsuits all over the place. And I just hope that Fort Ord is going to be recognized, and some of those people that got exposed to all kinds of stuff, that we are the ones responsible. I don't care what government agency you are in, and if it's in the White House or whatever, it's up to us to let them know it's not okay.
That's right.
If they're representing us, let them represent us. Hallelujah. All of us in our communities and our families. Thank you so
You know, lieber address and look, it's that's three things. But and that's that even had
Can you hear me okay? Is this okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Great. Thanks, LeVonne.
What you get?
Our next speaker, I should not have scheduled ahead of myself. I told myself I wasn't going to do that. His name is Gabriel Medina. I think a lot of people in the room already know him, but if you don't, you're not going to forget him. Sorry, I shouldn't build you up like that. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a big fan. So Gabe is a member of the Green Party. He just got elected in this most recent election. To the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. So he is a trustee on the board. And what I personally admire most about Gabe is the campaign that he ran, where he just was unapologetically connecting what was happening to the Palestinians
Yeah.
to what he saw happening to the people living in his own Chicano community. That was amazing. Very, very powerful. It just shocks me when someone can actually win office running on that kind of truth. It's really impressive. So I can't say enough good things about Gabe. All right. Sorry, Gabe. I told you too much. Sorry. All right, anyway, let's hear it for Gabe Medina.
I'll try living up to the hype, I promise.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, I had to write my things down because I know we got a time limit. So, hola everybody, how y'all doing? We good, pretty good? All right, well, my name is Gabriel Jesse Martin Medina Torres, but y'all can call me Gabe. And I am proud to be the first Green Party member to win an election for the Pajaro Valley School Board Unified School District. So, it's really a lot of work and community involved in that. But I didn't really get there by accident. I got here because our people are finally waking up. Because our people are tired of being lied to, tired of being poisoned, and tired of being told, wait our turn. And tired of watching our children suffer while politicians make excuses and corporations count profits. Now, in March of 2023, the levee broke and our town was completely flooded in Pajaro. But let's be honest, the levee didn't break in 2023. It broke decades ago, when our elected officials chose to ignore our community. When they built stronger levees in other places and left ours to crumble. When they told us we mattered, but showed us we didn't matter. The water was just the final result. About 450 of my students lost their schools. Families were displaced and homes were destroyed. Teachers and staff lost personal items they still haven't been reimbursed for. Some families have yet to return back to Pajaro. Our students were bused to unfamiliar campuses, pushed into crowded classrooms, separated from the very roots that kept them grounded, their school, their neighborhood, their people. And as we tried to recover from that trauma, we were hit again. Not by water, but by fire this time. Not once, not twice, but several times. The lithium battery storage facility in Moss Landing released toxic chemicals into the air. And still, no alarms, no evacuations, no urgent school-wide district warnings were let out. Just a cold email the school district sent to my school saying, close your windows. But how do you close a window that does not exist? At Pajaro Middle School, windows are still missing from the flood. Ceilings were still open, and teachers had no lamps to even use the bathrooms. We had to beg for basic safety. Is that the America they promised us? Some say we should be patient, that we should wait, that these things take time. But I ask, how many more generations has to wait?
Right.
My great-grandmother waited for sidewalks. My grandmother waited for clean water. My mother waited for a school system that treated her children with dignity. And now I stand here, waiting for windows, waiting for clean air, and waiting for justice. We are told to believe in this system, to trust it. But the system is not broken. It's working exactly as it is designed to. It was not built to protect us. It was not built for the farm worker, for the teacher, for the single mother, for the undocumented neighbor. It was built for the powerful. That's what it was built for. And the powerful think they can dump lithium near us, that they can expose us to pesticides, test asthma medication on our kids, and that they can treat our suffering as a data point on a spreadsheet. But like Corky Gonzalez said, I am Joaquin, lost in a world of confusion, caught up in the world of a gringo society confused by the rules. But we're no longer confused. We see clearly now. We're not a sacrificial zone. We are not lab rats. We are not disposable. We are descendants of those who crossed deserts and mountains, of people who fed this nation, cleaned its homes, raised its children, and bled in its wars. And we are done asking for permission to be treated like human beings. We must demand leaders who are for the people the planet, and peace. Not another slick politician who shows up with empty promises every 4 years. Not another bureaucrat who says it's complicated. No. We don't need complicated. We need courage. That's exactly what we need. And for those who say this movement is too radical, let me remind you that revolution is not radical when you are fighting for clean air. Let me remind you that revolution is not radical when your children are choking on chemicals. It is survival, it is love, and it is dignity. Our fight is not just political, it's spiritual, it's moral, it's philosophical. We are standing up for basic truth, that our lives have value, that our children's futures are not bargaining chips. And I'll leave you with this. And this is a Nawa teaching that says, we eat the earth and the earth eats us. There is a balance, a reciprocity, a sacred relationship that we have to this land. But when the Spanish came in, especially down in Mexico, where a lot of my indigenous families from, they came and they took and they took and they took. And the Nawa told them, that will be your downfall because you have yet to give back to this land. Now the earth is burning, the rivers are rising, and people are suffering. If we're to survive, we must remember who we are. If we're to survive, we must protect each other. And if we're to survive, we must fight like hell. That's what we gotta do. Not just for ourselves, but for every child who deserves a school with clean air, for every elder who wants what it was like before the chemicals, for every farm worker who feeds this country and still gets told their life is worthless. This is not the end of the speech, but this is the beginning of a movement. Viva la tierra, viva el pueblo, and viva la acústica. Gracias, everybody.
Now you see what I was talking about, huh? Why did I do that? To follow that, right? What was I thinking? Oh, thanks. He lived up to the hype, am I right? Gabriel Medina. Now we all understand why he was elected. Wow. Okay. Such a good. Yeah, no, it's great that we have that man on our side. And I know that usually people run for an office like school board only to step up to the next one. Gabe he keeps saying he doesn't want to do that. And I keep saying, we need you to go to the next one up. But he really cares about his own community. I mean, I think that's really, really true. So here I am, kind of a boring speaker. The reason why I care about this issue is that I live just 2 miles from this building. Like, I could have walked here today. And I have a toddler. And when that fire happened, my wife called me up and she said, we gotta go get our son. We can't leave him at the daycare. They have the outdoor playground. Are they gonna let him play outside? And we just said no. And we're like, is it safe? Are they telling us that, what are they telling us to do? Should we evacuate? And we got him, we brought him home. We didn't know whether to leave Santa Cruz or not. And now, we're so concerned about his health. As I mentioned earlier, we don't know what to buy at the grocery store. I mean, we do the best that we can. Like New Leaf, they tell you in a lot of cases what farms they come from. So I'll look at the map. Where is this farm located? Is this far enough? I'll send a picture to my wife. Do you think this is far enough? But we don't know. Just like Brian was saying, we don't have definitive answers on this stuff. Nobody really knows how far out this poison goes. So that's why I care. It's deeply personal to me, and I'm angry, and I'm afraid that they're going to do this to us again and again and again if we let them. They will. So, a lot of you I met for the first time, a few of you in this room today I met for the first time at that event outside of Senator Laird's office. And that, for me, was a really great opportunity to hear how the rest of the community is feeling. And mostly what I heard from Senator Laird's constituents was concern about their own health, the health of their family, questions about the health of the environment, and really, what is he going to do about it? Where is the help that he promised? And they didn't get to talk to Senator Laird. They only got to talk to one of his aides. And I know a number of people that were there that day accused his aide of grimacing. It didn't really seem like he was hearing them. It felt like he was humoring them, like, oh yeah, I'll write this down. Oh, I'm writing it down. Oh yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. And then he turned around.
He never wrote one word down.
Oh, did he not? I thought he had a pad.
He heard that.
Oh, did I imagine that? Wow, it worked on me. It worked on me. He got me.
Yeah.
So people walked away from that not feeling heard. And so let me share you some information about Senator Laird, who's a very popular man in our community. So it's actually kind of controversial for me to talk about this. I've gotten some pushback, but I think it's very important that we know this. John Laird received a $5,000 campaign contribution from the Vistra Corporation in 2024. He got a $1,500 donation from Vistra in 2020. A $3,500 donation from Tesla in 2021. Now remember, Tesla also operates a battery facility on that same site.
Yes, they do.
And then another 1.5K from Tesla, and then another 1K from Tesla. Now, does that mean he's bribed? Not necessarily. It's not a good look. I don't trust anybody that's taking money from those corporations. I see that as a definite conflict of interest, and I think that our community needs to insist that it is a conflict of interest, and this is not okay. So now I want to talk about a little bit about his bill, SB 283, that he's proposed. I do not like SB 283. Maybe there's some people in here who disagree with me. The main thing that I don't like about SB 283 is that it says that the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, one of its codes that has to do with safety for these kind of energy storage facilities is going to be used to certify whether a new facility can be built. And maybe that sounds great. I think a lot of people do like that, but I don't think it's acceptable for the NFPA, which is a non-governmental body and which has direct ties to the industry. I don't think that should be in charge of certifying these new plants. I don't trust it. Guess who sits on the board of directors of NFPA? Christina Francis, Senior Staff Fire and Regulatory Specialist for Tesla.
I will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we trust this body to regulate Tesla's next plant? Hell no. Hell no. That's right, Butch. And there are some other problematic members of the board, but I'm not, well, I'll mention one. Brigadier General Mohammed Abdullah Al-Nuaimi, Director General of Fire Protection and Safety Affairs, Civil Defense General Headquarters, Ministry of Interior, United Arab Emirates. Why is someone from another country? Why is someone from another country going to be on the board of directors of an organization that's going to regulate a battery facility they're going to build next to our hospital here in Santa Cruz? It doesn't make any sense.
Some shared interest.
So this is called the fox guarding the hen house. So we need to, I don't think we should be building any more of these plants, but at the very least, Laird needs to fix this bill so that the NFPA code does not directly regulate anything in our state. Now, if the state of California wants to consult the code when it updates its fire code every 3 years, fine. But I want public officials who are accountable to us in charge of updating the fire code. So that's a big problem with SB 283. I think we need to be telling our friends and family about that. Secondly, Don Addis's bill, AB 303. I want to talk a little bit about that. I know that there are even some people in this room that like AB 303, but at the very least, we got to modify this thing because AB 303 says one of these plants has to be at least 3,200 feet back from a sensitive site. So that would be like a school, for example, or a farm. 3,200 feet, that's 2/3 of a mile.
No, it is.
We found, according to San Jose State, the greatest concentration, the highest concentration of these heavy metals they found were somewhere between 1 mile and 3 miles from the plant, those heavy metals. So what on earth does 2/3 do? It does nothing. And I asked a friend who's an environmental activist interacted with Addis in the past, and her guess is that where this 3,200 feet comes from is another bill that had to do with regulating fossil fuel extraction sites. So I think she just copy pasted that number into this new bill without looking at any kind of data. She just made it up, essentially. And let me talk about one last legislator, Mr. Jimmy Panetta. Guess who the top recipient of campaign donations from the Vistra Corporation was in all of the country in 2024? One guess. Jimmy Panetta. Amazing. And so some of you may have gone to his town hall that he held about a week ago. I don't know. Yeah, some of you did. I think afterwards it was an activist from Never Again was asking him about what he's going to do and about this fire. And his answer was he's working on legislation to provide incentives to these companies to build safer plants. Incentives, which he didn't explain, but I hear that as tax credits. Sure. Yeah, exactly. So his solution to this is essentially to give money to his campaign donors. That's how I read it. That sounds like Washington, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we got to remove this guy from office for a number of reasons. So I think the demands that I'm going to be making, and I hope other people will join me, is a complete halt to any new lithium-ion storage facilities. I mean, we start with our counties, we work at the state, all of the above, right? We work on our county supervisors. I know a lot of people are focused on that, and I think that's really smart. We demand that Panetta and Laird give back that dirty money. But now listen, this is not a ridiculous demand. Addis actually did take money from Vistra, and then she gave it back. So we can say to Laird and Panetta, do what Addis did. Give back that dirty money. Why don't you want to give it back?
Yeah, but she's still stuck.
Believe me, yeah. There's a lot of problems, especially with 1468, right? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm not saying I like Addis. We have this precedent that we can use to demand that these other people give back the money, and it exposes them for what they've been doing. That's right. So, look, lithium-ion isn't safe. My wife works at the university. Neither she or I are scientists that are qualified to understand this stuff, but we saw papers that scientists published. They published these papers where they said, we still don't know how to deal with thermal runaway and lithium-ion. We found another paper that said, there's only public data on how to deal with thermal runaway with cells, not with rack and container size. That's proprietary information that the corporations hang on to in secret. It's a trade secret. And I want to know, how are you regulating the safety of these things if nobody knows in public how you stop their full runaway at the container level, right? It doesn't add up. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't think it's possible to regulate these lithium-ion storage facilities. And lastly, I just want to talk about the fact that there are some alternatives to lithium-ion. Like opposing lithium-ion is not the same thing as wanting fossil fuels. It's not a choice between coal and lithium-ion, not at all. The most commonly used storage currently in the globe is pumped storage hydro. When you have excess energy, you drive a water pump, push water up a hill into a reservoir, and then when you need to generate electricity, you let it drain down through turbines. And in a lot of cases, what you can do is you can take an existing reservoir, build an auxiliary reservoir next to it at the bottom of the hill, and then you can just cycle it through those. So we could start enhancing these existing reservoirs, or at least let's do a feasibility study. Any of the reservoirs in the state, let's start seeing which of those can be enhanced. Yeah, it's very common. So let's build more of them. Sure. And then there's also compressed air. I think Ralph was telling me only 3% of reservoirs currently have this kind of system built into it. So there's a lot of opportunity to enhance the ones that are out there. There's also compressed air. There's a couple of those being built in California. The oldest compressed air has been running continuously since 1978. And Germany never had a major incident, so it's very safe. It actually has a significant storage capacity, like the ones they're building in California. It's like in the gigawatt hour range. So these are serious. And we've got caverns, we've got mines around here. That's what you need, by the way, for compressed air. You put the compressed air into a cavern or a mine. We've got those around here. Let's do a feasibility study. Let's see if we can do that around here.
Yes.
So those are just two examples, and there's more. I'm not going to get into them right now, although I'd like to. There's lots of options, and I think we do need to be equipped with some of this knowledge for when we're talking to our friends that are environmentalists, because I am talking to them right now, and they really believe that lithium-ion batteries are the only way to stop climate change. So we need to educate ourselves about these other options, and so we can explain it to them. So with the end of my remarks, I'm going to say, I encourage you people to switch your registration to the Green Party. It's free. It takes you like 5 minutes online. You know, you can do it with the Secretary of State of California. Sends a very clear message to the powers that be, to the establishment, because the establishment in this state, in this county, in this city is Democrat. So you got to tell the Democrats, we're fed up with this. We're fed up with these dirty donations, with these conflicts of interest. And by the way, the Green Party, like if Butch Ware wanted to take money from Vistra, he couldn't. It's against, I couldn't if I wanted to, even if I wanted to. The party doesn't allow us to. We're prohibited. We'd be kicked out of the party. We'd have to switch our letter from G to D on the ballot if we took that. So y'all need to join us. We need to clean up the campaign finance system. And Green Party is one effective tool, I believe. And we can get people elected. You just heard from Gabe. We need more Gabes. And finally, volunteer for Butch's campaign, volunteer for my campaign. We're going to be talking about this. My campaign's going to be talking about this. We're going to be going door to door. So join us. Help us educate our fellow citizens. Thank you. Mr. Butch Ware. Butch Ware is the Green Party's, presumptive gubernatorial nominee. Yeah, he's running for governor of California. Probably a lot of you. Probably a lot of you are aware that Butch ran with Jill Stein in this most recent presidential election. It was a very courageous campaign that stood unequivocally against what our country has been doing to the Palestinians. I think it was a really brave campaign. And I'm glad I didn't put myself after Butch. All right, come on up here, Butch.
On May 25th, 2020, Derek Chauvin put his knee on the windpipe of one George Floyd in South Minneapolis, about 6 blocks away from where a police officer drew his service weapon on me when I was 18 years old. In over 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Derek Chauvin choked the life out of George Floyd. Some of y'all have seen that video. I still ain't seen that video. I cannot watch that video because the grandfather of my children was also murdered unarmed by police. Andrew Harper Sr. In Painesville, Ohio, the year before I met my ex-wife. I never met her father, never met my father-in-law. The only pictures that I have of my birth father in a suit, and Ware men look nice in suits, generally speaking. The only ones that I have of him in a suit, his face looks like Rodney King, because he's going to court in D.C. to stay out of jail for the beatings that the D.C. police gave him.
Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. I'm a university professor, a history professor, and I often use a question and answer approach in my teaching. Do any of y'all remember what George Floyd's final words were?
Where I kept this woman breathe.
Say it again, Nora. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
What did he say? He said, I can't breathe.
That's it.
What were people saying after Moss Landing? What was Donald Stone saying?
I think. Okay.
I can't breathe. Because our political authorities are choking us. Do you understand the connection between George Floyd being choked out in 2020 and us coughing and choking and inhaling toxic fumes? There is toxicity in our air because there is toxicity in our politics.
Yeah.
They are poisoning the air we breathe. They are poisoning the water we drink.
Yeah.
They are poisoning the soil from which we are, in the Abrahamic tradition, ourselves made. Creatures made of earth and water.
See.
And they are poisoning us, and they are poisoning the earth, and they are poisoning the water. The baseline level of toxicity in our environment is predicated on that baseline level of toxicity in our politics. These people will poison you with nickel to make another nickel.
It's trouble.
They will send children down into mines to die in the Congo to sell your cell phone for 10 cents less.
Say that.
Those lithium batteries with the cobalt and the coltan and the nickel, there is not enough lithium in the planet to replace fossil fuels, I repeat. There is not enough that could be dragged out of the ground.
Me too.
So this is not about sustainable energy. It is about infinite profits. It is about extraction. And that is always felt most brutally by communities of color. Environmental justice is racial justice. We heard it from Gabe. How you gonna keep the toxins out of your air when you ain't got no windows?
I mean, them and that guy.
The communities that are the most disadvantaged and impoverished, we have been choking for decades. We have been choking for centuries, and we've been screaming, I can't breathe. Maybe now some of y'all can hear.
Yeah.
Maybe now some of y'all can hear, because the efforts to extract more and more so that they can squeeze another nickel is now poisoning everyone's air. It's poisoning everyone's water, and it is poisoning our political environment. Because in order to do it, these two corporate parties, Team Blue and Team Red, poison us against one another. They have nothing to offer except fear and hatred. And through fear and hatred and divisiveness, they control us.
Oh, it's right it now.
They teach us to hate our neighbors, to not have concern for the harm that reaches our neighbor down the road because they don't look like us, or they don't pray like us, or they're too worried about what somebody does in the privacy of their own bedroom to think that that is another human being that has dignity and is worth protecting.
Yeah.
So they introduce these toxins into our political environment. And what is the ultimate outcome? They are literally turning our communities into a fiery hellscape. You cannot put water on a lithium fire and put it out. It just continues to burn like the fires of hell itself. They are turning our planet into a hellscape. And for what? Another nickel. Where are they planning on spending it? When all of the water is poisoned, when all of the air is poisoned, when all of the soil is poisoned, we have to save these people from themselves.
Yeah.
Sean mentioned our presidential campaign. We finished third in that campaign. I ain't finishing third no more. Not in running for governor in the state of California.
Dave?
And Sean mentioned that we stood firm on the genocide of Palestinians. California stands firm against the genocide of Palestinians. This is a 70-30 or 80-20 issue in our communities. And I will continue to stand firm against genocide. I will continue to stand firm against the extermination of people because they are in the way of people grabbing more resources that they can extract. But I will stand against that genocide because I understand the relationship between the mass murder of Palestinians halfway across the planet in Palestine and the pollution of the earth and the water in East Palestine, Ohio. Another place, just like Moss Landing, where corporate excess and deregulation, the corrupt toxicity in our politics, leads directly to a train derailment with fires that can't nobody put out.
Yeah.
That seep into the earth and into the groundwater. Do you understand the relationship between East Palestine, Ohio, and historic Palestine? Do you understand that it is the same toxicity in our politics? It is because Team Blue and Team Red are for sale to the highest bidder, period.
Just buy it, yo.
They are paid to poison us. They are paid to kill us.
Yeah.
They are paid to choke us out. And they send police from cop cities. They sent 200 jackboot thugs to my campus at UCSB to remove 30 unarmed kids from an encampment because they dared to say, "Free Palestine."
Yes.
They are attempting to squash any resistance with this mass repression. We must organize and we must fight back.
You know?
You can stop.
There was enough ordnance, explosive devices unleashed just in the first 2 months of the genocide against Palestinians to equal the carbon output of the 20 smallest carbon producing countries in the world. That was the first 2 months of those bombings. This is all one fight. They are going to destroy the planet, whether they do it through these campaigns of mass murder and extermination or through the correlated poisoning of our environment. Their aim is to kill us. When I was on the campaign, I had to explain to somebody who wasn't particularly read in why the Democrats were going to lose the presidential election. And for the record, I said that on August 22nd. I had been on the campaign for less than 2 weeks. I said the Democrats have no path to victory in this election. People thought I was crazy, but I looked at the numbers. They had lost the Muslims in swing states, and they were never going to get Muslim voters back because Jews don't vote for Nazis and Muslims ain't going to vote for Democrats. You don't vote for people that genocide you. That's just the way that works. So once that happened, that ship had sailed. So I understood that there was no path to victory. And I had to explain to somebody who wasn't particularly read in on politics, happened to be the babysitter for my special needs son. And I said, listen, the Democrats could probably win this election if they stop killing kids.
That we.
Because people don't like having their tax dollars used to kill kids. But the thing is that they are getting paid good money to kill kids. And so they're gonna keep right on killing kids. Where's the lie? That's when the young people say, no lies detected. This, if you understand it in its proper proportion, is eschatological. Sorry to be an academic. Eschatology is about the study of death and the end of days. This is a death cult that we are fighting against. This is end of times, extinction level event that we are faced with. And that means we must fight back. We cannot simply allow, as Malcolm called them, the foxes and the wolves to hunt us to extinction. Malcolm said, the liberal is a fox, bares its teeth. You think it's smiling at you, but you're on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. When it bares its teeth, it makes its face into a vicious snarl, leaving the Negro with no illusions as to where he stands. Well, many of y'all are now learning that you are just predators, you are just prey for predators who differ only in the modality of the hunt. One hunts through guile and cunning, the other through brute force. We must fight back. I mentioned Malcolm in almost every talk that I give because Malcolm was my path to conversion to Islam and my introduction to the Black resistance tradition, the Black radical tradition. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X cover to cover in one night when I was 15 years old. It changed my life. And I went to my public school library the next day and I checked out an English translation of the Quran and I read that cover to cover the next night. And that was my initiation into my personal faith tradition, the values that motivate me to stand for justice. But it was also the introduction to the Black radical resistance tradition that LeVonne represents so beautifully in her person and in her words. Malcolm said, we are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. You know, Malcolm said, we are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. And he also said, never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are. Never let the man that you are against form your opinions for you. See, we have internalized a discourse that says that we can't beat Team Blue, we can't beat Team Red, but we know that we can. We have just simply internalized this defeatist attitude. They bleed just like we bleed. We must fight back, and that means organizing. I'm going to start to bring this conversation to a close by pulling a couple of things together. See, I started with George Floyd being choked out in 2020. And what we saw after that was an uprising, right? We saw, for the first time in my life, I saw more white faces at marches against police brutality than I saw black faces. Had never seen anything like that. A sea change in the constituency of those crowds. And I've been marching against black kids getting killed by police since I was 13 years old. Since I was 13 years old. But this was a change, mass mobilization now around police brutality. Another student of Malcolm, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, his former name, he said, revolutionaries don't just mobilize. Revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues. Revolutionaries organize against systems. I'm going to repeat that. Revolutionaries do not just mobilize around issues. Revolutionaries organize against systems. See, what happened, work with me, because what happened is that we mobilized around the issue of police brutality in 2020. People went out and marched and they protested and they got out in the streets. But did we organize against the system that produced that police violence against black people? No, we did not. And so then what happened? Under Team Blue and on Team Blue's watch in the Biden presidency, police killed more people in every consecutive year. They set a new record for cops killing people. Because we mobilized around the issue, we did not organize against the system. What have we seen in this effort to free Palestine? And I'm going to tell you, on October 11th of 2023, when Representative Katie Porter was recording her video where she says, "I stand with Israel, and Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to mass murder." I was organizing a Black and Palestinian solidarity event in Santa Barbara, and we marched across the campus on October 21st, 300 plus strong, when people were afraid to say "from the river to the sea" out loud. Oh, y'all remember what it was like? Because Malcolm taught me that Palestinian liberation and Black liberation are intimately connected. Every single Black revolutionary, not just Malcolm, not just Kwame Ture, Toni Morrison, James Baldwin. James Baldwin said the state of Israel in 1979, open letter to the board again, he said the state of Israel was not created for the salvation of the Jews. The state of Israel was created for the salvation of Western interests.
Yes.
She already left, but can I get an amen? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Right. So, but what has happened? We saw march after march, and I got to be honest. I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I really should have been in D.C. today, right? But I didn't want to break this date. I did not want to break this date here. And we're seeing beautiful march, beautiful protest. But that is a mobilization around an issue. It is not organization against the system. And that's why 16 months of blue genocide has been followed by 3.5 months of red genocide. Pick your flavor. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Sorry, some people will get that Jonestown reference, and others won't. It's all on the same theme. If you guys know this, it's about poison and toxicity.
Yeah, the job.
I felt it. So, not organizing against the system. And that's why we have not been able to force a lasting ceasefire, because we have continued to mobilize around issues. I was in Sacramento 3 weeks ago, for an Abolish ICE march. And Abolish ICE, clap for that, Abolish ICE. Because ICE was founded in the aftermath of 9/11 as a weaponization of American Islamophobia to come take everybody's rights. That's the formation of a Gestapo. That's the formation of a secret police. And us Muslims tried to tell you. But you thought that they wouldn't be coming for you. Exactly.
Already,
Some knew. Man, people in this room knew. All right. We can all agree on that. But again, people are now trying to protect our immigrant brothers and sisters. My wife, beautiful, sit right, Clement said, stand up. My beautiful wife sit right here in the front row. Both of her parents came to this country originally undocumented before being documented. My mother-in-law could not see her brother for 23 years because of that border. Breaking up families in this day and age the same way they broke up the families of my ancestors for the same reason, to have an easily controllable, manipulable labor force that you can exploit at will. This struggle is a single struggle against white supremacy, a single struggle against imperialism, a single struggle against capitalist exploitation of working people. But we are not organizing. Listen, the earth is going to be killed through this process. The earth is going to be killed through this process because capitalism does not have another way to do it except to destroy and burn through every resource. Sustainable capitalism is an oxymoron.
Downly.
Sustainable capitalism is an oxymoron.
That hurt.
So where does that leave us? That leaves us with this campaign for governor. And I'm just going to say a few words about that before the close. And out. Political party organizing has played a critical role in every successful modern revolution. And the reason is that political party organizing allows people to channel their energy from mobilization into organization instead of standing up on a siloed issue. No matter how important and central and fundamental, and the people of this community standing up to the capitalist exploiters that would choke you to death is of fundamental importance. I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe that standing for environmental justice was of fundamental importance. I would not be agreeing if I didn't believe that standing for environmental justice is of fundamental importance, but it is not enough until you understand the connection between Moss Landing and George Floyd, between George Floyd and a free Palestine, between a free Palestine and dignity and safety for our immigrant neighbors. Then you will be incapable of developing the political power that will allow you to effectively transform systems. Mobilization around the issues is not going to be enough against what is coming. What is coming is the most intense assault on our rights and our dignity and our persons that any of us have witnessed in our lifetime.
It's here, it's already here.
They just getting warmed up.
And never, yes.
They are just getting warmed up. And that is why if you want to fight back, then you need to join this political movement. You need to donate to Sean's campaign or to my campaign. You need to volunteer for one of these campaigns because it is going to take organized resistance. Now, electoral politics alone won't do it. We need mutual aid. We need direct action. And that's why when I come to communities, I don't say, come out and vote for me. Our interests align. No. I say, how can we put a political party in service of your liberation movement?
Yes.
That is what is different about the Green Party, because the Green Party don't have politicians. The Green Party has public servants. And our aim is to provide service to the people. And what the people need in this moment is to organize for a revolution, to organize against the systems that would dehumanize and choke us all. Peace.